fazla gecikmeden.
The United Nations must weigh in on the problems without any further delay, before more innocent people lose their lives, before the global conscience is further injured. I would like to underline that the world is bigger than five. The fact that 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council neutralize the United Nations in a way that is incompatible with world realities. It's not acceptable to the global conscience.
Well, for more analysis, Matthew Bryza is the former Deputy US Assistant Secretary of State for Europe and Eurasia, joining me live from Istanbul. So a warm welcome to the programme. So do you agree that the UN needs to reform and perhaps include more countries other than the so-called sort of top 5 as a name?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And in fact, when I was working in the White House of President George W. Bush 20 years ago, that was a project we were working on, hoping that we could expand the Security Council and also just reform the UN in general. But, you know, those efforts get stymied because the countries that have their vetoes and have all the power, they don't want to lose any of that power.
Well, in its current form, though, would you say that the UN is working?
Absolutely not. And I mean, it's working in places like Africa for humanitarian reasons, whether it be emergency food deliveries or other humanitarian functions. But when it comes to the big security issues, it's completely failed. As long as, let's say, in the case of Russia's war on Ukraine, the belligerent is a member of the Security Council who can veto any substantive action. So it completely breaks down on these big security issues.
And talking about security issues, do you think that Russia still deserves a place?
Well, Ukraine certainly thinks it does not. Personally, in my personal opinion, I'm not sure what it's worth, but I think Russia has proven that it is ready to violate the UN Charter, international law across the board, commit atrocities. Its leader is accused of participating in war crimes. To me, that country doesn't deserve to be in possession of a veto.
All right. Well, let's talk about those that do, because you've got the likes of Emmanuel Macron, Rishi Sunak, Xi Jinping. They haven't even bothered to turn up. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's really sad for the UN General Assembly. I mean, it shows that those leaders don't think it's worth their time. It sends really a negative signal. And I think really everybody needs to sit down and start figuring out how to put in place some reforms. Maybe you get rid of the veto, or you have some sort of qualified majority voting in the Security Council. But the fact that Rishi Sunak and Emmanuel Macron didn't even bother to show up shows they don't really take it very seriously.
All right. Well, thank you so very much indeed. We take it seriously here. Matthew Bryza, the former Deputy US Assistant Secretary of State for Europe and Eurasia, live here for us today on TRT World.